So, Natalie, do you have anything you want to say, or can I cannonball into the deep end of the pool the way I always do?
Please cannonball.
Here we go. Splash. Hi, everybody. This is the last of our mini series, and this specific call is focused on networking for extroverts. And in saying that out loud, I want to honor, if you are not an extrovert and that made your toes curl up a little bit, I assure you it's going to be okay. This is not going to be a melee. This is not going to be a battle royale. And extroverts, if you want to stay off mute the whole time and talk whenever you want, we can handle that. This hour is for you. But what I want to talk about is networking as an extrovert and some challenges that you might find and how to get around them. So this is a topic that I know and love. I am a gregarious extrovert. I took the Myers-Briggs once, and it's a 1 to 20 score. I scored 19 on E. I was so close to perfect. So close. I'm going to take it again and see if I can get it. It feels good to be out in the world, not knowing what's happening, using my mouth. That's what extrovert feels like to me. It feels really good. It energizes me. It scratches an itch that nothing else does. I love it. I love talking to strangers. I love reconnecting with people I know. I walk away from those awful loud rooms energized. In fact, I would sleep in that room only if you all slept in there with me. That's how I feel when I go to networking events in person. I love it. 12 out of 10. Here's where I get into trouble. The fear of missing out. We have to talk about FOMO today. The FOMO is real. The FOMO will tank the efficacy of that event for me. And I don't know if this shows up this way for anybody else, but one of the ways that it shows up for me is there's 1,000 people in this room. How am I going to talk to all of them? And I'll be in a conversation with someone and I'll have this little worm of a thought that's like, you're running out of time, Laurie. End this conversation and start a new one. And that's my warning sign. So what I want to talk about is what is happening when you're experiencing FOMO. Just out of curiosity, extroverts, feel free to come off mic, leave your camera on, throw something in the chat. One thing, Natalie, could you put the Slido in? That's what I forgot about. Natalie's going to put the Slido in. If anybody wants to ask a question and doesn't want to come off mic, do it in the Slido. Does anybody else connect with this? That you feel really excited, you're an extrovert in person? Oh, Sophia, thank you. That is wonderful feedback. I'm so glad. We will talk about written introductions for extroverts too. Sarah, do you connect with this at all?
I do, but in a slightly different way. So I will go to networking things and I'll have kind of a plan, like, hey, you got to talk to this person about this project. You got to talk to this person about that kind of funding over there, this opportunity. And I will just get there and I will chit chat and talk to a bunch of people, and I will forget all the reasons why I wanted to be there and walk away having done none of that. And then just been like, okay, you lost your focus a little bit. It was
so
fun,
the FOMO gets you afterwards. It's regret FOMO.
I don't really have FOMO. I don't have FOMO. Not too much that part.
But I want to download how you live life without FOMO because I need to know. So you make a plan going in. You understand that it's an opportunity to connect and have great conversations, and then get wrapped up in the flow of having great conversations, not necessarily on plan.
Yeah.
How do you catch it?
I don't. I haven't been very good at it. I'm learning. It's hard for me. I just get so excited. I get so excited about all the people. And
I get so excited about all the people too.
Yeah.
And I need to make transparent that Zara and I met in person at an actual networking event in Minneapolis, which is very rare for me. And I think you and I got excited together.
Yeah.
We probably lit the room on fire. Yeah. So one of the things that I feel, and the thing about making a plan ahead of time, I used to do this a lot. I used to be really thoughtful and intentional, especially if it was like a targeted, like if it was a talk and there was a targeted audience there, or I'd been trying to get into a conversation with somebody and I knew that she'd be there, right? So I'd make a plan ahead of time. And I found that when I made a plan, every single time I was disappointed. no matter what the plan was. And I tried scaling back the plan. I tried just making like a tiny plan. And no matter what, I was always disappointed. And so I'm wondering how can you shift how you approach these events so that you walk away without that feeling of like, shoot. And if anybody else connects with what Zara is talking about too, feel free to jump in. This is for the extroverts. You can interrupt. We can handle it.
Okay. Well, then I will. So I actually have been a single dad and I raised two daughters on my own. And that taught me to realize that whatever plan I have will not happen. And all I do is I use the Stephen Covey idea of the wildly important goal. I have one or two wildly important goals that I must accomplish. I must meet this person, or I must meet this type of thing. I go in there figuring I'm mining, and I don't leave until I get my one or two gems. Once I get my one or two gems, then I can breathe. And then all of a sudden, the Taoist in me kicks in and I just kind of go with the flow. But I go there with the intent with that one or two things, and then I'm cool. But if, it's like having a list that's 30 pieces long, you'll never succeed on that. But if you have those two things you can do, then you get the momentum and then you just keep rolling.
All right, Eric. So you're talking about making the realistic approach, being the curator of your questions ahead of time, a ruthless curator. One or two good things.
Experience. What?
Yes.
Because only you are the captain of that ship, right? Like everybody else's experiences. So what do I need? I need to walk away with at least two actionable things. And what are those actionable things? And it varies. Like I just went to a life science one, and I was probably one of the three people who was the PhD solving the world's problems through genetic engineering, right? But I did wind up connecting with people on a human level, and then I wound up meeting some of the people who were vendoring them, and from there I got my gems. And the other thing I do to curate myself, because I am hyperverbal and go out there and have a great time, is I volunteer. So I will because then I can go in with a purpose. And I actually learned that from my introverts, because the introverts need a purpose, right? But if I have now, all of a sudden I don't have to go out and do anything. I'm talking to everybody who's coming to me because I'm at the information booth, or I'm at this thing, or I have this singular purpose, then I can build a lattice around, and that off burdens me from the plan. Now I get to lean into the randomness of it. And it's really fun because I'll sit there. I was in San Diego and I was at this conference for sleep doctors. I'd never knew this. And I started having a conversation, and then we start talking about our kids, and then this other person joins. And then all of a sudden we got this whole little cluster of 8 people talking about this very specific thing. And from there, I got my 2 gems. Like those were people who I could call, have a really warm conversation afterwards. And that launched me to the next piece.
So all right, Eric, so you brought up one of the topics I really wanted to wrap this into today, and you did the segue for me beautifully. Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
If you love events, if you are riding the wave, the exhilarating wave, you might not be listening very well. It's okay to be honest. Raise your hand if you've caught yourself in this. I made a plan. I need to have the plan. Now I'm not listening to the conversation I'm actually in. And Eric, I want to highlight what you just said that was so beautiful. You just allowed it to be what it was. You were talking about kids. If you have a plan and FOMO and you find yourself talking about kids, you might be like, how do I get out of here? But you allowed it to be what it was. You were present for it. And it brought this beautiful group together. So one of the things I want to talk to you today, and I know I'm stereotyping, it's possible that my extroverts here are more comfortable in that room than the extroverts or the introverts are. If that feels true for you, whether you're introverted or extroverted, if you feel comfortable in that room, you have a better shot at being present. I'm going to do a gesture that I do all day long. I do this, and I'm going to show you what I mean by this. Very generically, your brain has 2 modes. Survival stress mode. Everybody knows what this feels like. I know you do. And creation mode. In creation mode, you can access all of that education in your brain, your creativity. You have a better shot at shared humanity. You get all of the bouquet of good emotions, the joy, the love, the peace, all of that stuff is over here. What's over here is anger and fear and stress and guilt and shame and apathy. Your training goes offline, your education goes offline, and your creativity goes offline. So if you're riding the wave of FOMO and you've made a plan, you might find yourself over here and you don't have access to your creativity. You're probably not listening very well, which means that you might walk away with 50 business cards. Do you remember any of them? Did you have a real connection with any of them? If you did a follow-up, could you ask a question that was related to what you talked about? Has anybody found themselves in this situation where you're just like running and running and running and running? Okay, let's talk about how to slow down. First of all, and I'll share what it feels like for me, and you find your own way of how you find that, because catching the subconscious thing is the hard part. If I find my eyes darting around, I know it's starting. If I catch myself in a feeling of urgency, then I know it's starting. And there's a whole bunch of ways to bring yourself back to the present moment. And I want you to find something that works for you. One way you can try, everybody do it right now. Put your attention on a part of your body that's super easy to put your attention on. Doesn't matter what it is. The bottom of my feet are really easy to pay attention to right now. Just put your attention there. Now you're present. Everybody take a slow breath. Now you're present. When we're scrambling and thinking about our plan, we're missing what's right in front of us. And Eric, to borrow your language, that gem might be right in front of us right now. Is this making sense to anybody? Is everybody connecting with us? Okay. I'm just curious. I need a little bit of feedback. If you feel comfortable in that big, loud room with strangers, could you raise your hand or put something in the chat for me? Or come on camera just for a second. I just kind of want to see if we've got a critical mass. Yes. I think we have a lot of listeners today. I'm so unaccustomed to listeners. Okay. We have enough of you that we're going to go for this. I want to introduce an idea to you that is completely different than how you've been taught to network. I haven't taught this in any of the workshops yet. This is a brand new, fresh idea. This is how I go into that room now. I stopped making plans. There's no plan. Just try it. It's kind of like jumping off the high board. It'll be fun. Do it. What I go in with is I decide how I want to feel in that room. And I'm really careful about how I decide this. So the last big networking thing I went to, I knew that a bunch of potential clients would be there. I didn't know their names. I didn't know who they worked for, but I knew that that event was a really good magnet for the type of person that hires me and finds a lot of success with me. And I have met enough clients now that I know how they feel when they meet me. And for this particular event, the feeling that I chose was belonging. And so everybody do this right now. And you don't have to choose belonging the next thing that you go to. I want you to just find a memory, dig back in the slideshow of your life, find the memory of a place where it is very, very easy to belong. You got it? If it helps, close your eyes. How do you feel there? Besides belonging. How do you know you belong? What's right about that environment? Get curious about this. We are mining really valuable data right now. Find the answer for you. It's different for everybody. Who do you show up as when you feel belonging? Which actions do you have access to when you feel belonging? What are you thinking about when you feel belonging? Take notes. This is important. Write this down. Shut your email down if you're off camera. I promise it's worth your time. Find this data. Find what it means for you. Now, take that whole collection that you just mined and put it right in the middle of your heart. Put it in there and take a big deep breath in. Feel belonging. And when you exhale, feel gratitude to have that beautiful thing in your chest. And gratitude is just the feeling that something good is happening. That's all gratitude is. So when something good is happening, it usually grows whatever that thing is. So here's how I network. Here's the whole secret of how I do this. I go into the room, even if I know somebody in there. I don't walk up to you if I know you. I stand alone somewhere in there, not near the wall, somewhere away from the wall. This thing is in my pocket. And I just stand there and I breathe in belonging and I breathe out gratitude. And I breathe in belonging and I breathe out gratitude. And I will do this for a half an hour, just standing there alone. It never takes that long. Anybody have a guess of what happens when I do this? Come on,
Someone walks up to you and ask you something about yourself.
Bishad, yes, you hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what happens. People just walk, they gravitate to me. Thank you, Nicole. They walk up to me, Haley. Exactly. And I will tell you this from having done this many times. This is not 100% highly distilled, these people will all hire me moment. No, but it's pretty good. It is a very select pool of people who are attracted to somebody who feels that they belong because that's what they want. We do this with our nervous systems to each other. Now, on the other side of this coin, if you're in that room stressing out, riding the exciting wave of being in the thing into stress, or just stressing out in general, or feeling really uncomfortable, that's who will come up to you. You can use your heart as a magnet. So I want to pose this question for you. You don't have to come off camera. You can put it in Slido. You can put it in the chat, put it wherever you want to. What would it be worth to you to not have to do any homework and prep ahead of time, to not be stressed about the plan, and to have a really distilled group of humans just walk up to you and start talking? And if anybody thinks I'm full of it, please challenge me. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram and I love a hard conversation. Bring it. So Maya, you've noticed that when you're nervous, others who feel nervous or lost come up to you? Yeah. Anybody else notice this? Kazim. Interesting. How can you tell that they're intelligent people? Is it after you start talking to them? Or is it a spidey sense? So, who's willing to try this the next thing that they go to? And if you're going to try it, do you have questions? Do you have doubts? You want to know more? Or does it all make sense?
It resonates well with me. I started losing the plan quite a while ago, but for really large events like CES or something crazy like that, one of the quality practices I found too is to walk the floor or to do the thing with somebody and then have a conversation with them and then rope the other person in, because you're having a conversation about them and their booth, or you ask them and the two of you having a conversation about the thing they brought in creates this kind of like voyeuristic vacuum and brings the person into the conversation. So sometimes I have a few people who will, especially in person, but even on some of these things, create that kind of triad of conversation as opposed to a dyad.
Eric, do you know off the top of your head how many folks attend CES? That's like a mega conference.
I think last year was 160,000.
Yeah. So the thought even of trying to do your homework before that,
Yeah,
it feels overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
How would you even, you would need machine learning to do that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've worked for companies that like preset appointments and like do all these things, and that's all great, but then that's a big business negotiation. That isn't new networking. That isn't new mining. That's refining. And it's much easier to do that than it is to find the new people. So I'm the scout. I'm always going out and doing the thing because I can connect with people on a whole variety of level. I just need to start the connection somehow.
Yeah.
It needs to be
And
that.
Eric, you brought up my next segue. It's like you read my mind. I love this.
I'm
Talking
not your
about what
wingman.
you,
This was not planned.
this is not planned. Eric is not on payroll. So talking about only what you want to talk about. And I know this can be a little bit different because this starts to become like a cultural that feels really wrong kind of a thing, right? If you find yourself in a conversation that you're present for and you're listening and it's not interesting, get out of it. And I want to say it one more time. I know that culturally that can be a little bit hard to swallow. We don't do that. It's disrespectful. And where I live in Minnesota, it's especially disrespectful. Nobody does that. We endure. The North endures. But here's what's at stake if you hang out in a conversation that you're not into. And Eric brought this up beautifully. By starting a conversation, and I made an assumption, I don't know if you said this, that you want to be having. When you're talking about something that you want to talk about, everybody take a second. How do you feel? When was the last time you were in a conversation that you really wanted to talk about? How'd you feel? Yeah, thumbs up, Massimo. Exactly. When you're feeling good, here's that gesture again. What's happening in your brain? Your creativity is online. Your education's online. All the good feelings are available. By the way, all of you who are here to change the world and make something that has never existed before, you cannot do that from here. This whole garbage about startup founders have to grind. If you're in stress mode all the time trying to make something that's never been existed before, you have to be over here. We can only make more of what we know from over here. So you find yourself in a conversation that you're not really into. Let's talk about this. How do you end it? I fundamentally do not like to hear myself talk for an hour. I can hold awkward pauses forever. Fake phone call, Sue. Freaking love it. Hold on. Remembering something. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm supposed to walk my fish. Okay. Time for another drink. Good. Oh, I really got to go to the bathroom. Good. Going to get a drink. I love this. There's a myriad of ways to do this. I want to introduce one more. Because it's possible that you're talking to someone about something you're not into, but you have the opportunity to talk about something you're into. Now, my culture says, wait for a pause in the conversation. Say thank you and kindly say, I'm going to talk to others. Zara, yes, direct. I love direct. Change the topic. Sophia, that's exactly where I'm going. Wait for a pause and then start talking about something you want to talk about. I don't care if it's a non sequitur. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to find a connection to whatever they were talking about and what you want to talk about. I will give you an example of this. I'm a licensed architect. I went to a conference to get my continuing education units. I got there really, really early because of circumstances. There were only 2 people there. Started up a conversation with one of them. And I very quickly realized that this was not the type of conversation that I wanted to stay in. And I've had many conversations like this in the past, and they have ended in a very uncomfortable way for me. And so I waited for a moment, and then I started talking about my work. And my work now is helping highly intelligent, ambitious people who are here to change the world walk through their fear so they can wake up and walk around in their dreams. And I'm passionate about it. And I just start talking like that. Within 30 seconds, he walked away. Had he actually wanted to engage in what I wanted to talk about, we would have had a great conversation. But now I knew. I have a question for you, and then I have to go. Yeah. So here's one of the things that if you're already feeling comfortable at the networking event, you can take it up a notch. Can you decide before you walk in the room that you're only going to talk about things that are interesting to you? And use that as a filter. If you can decide this, there's a side effect that happens that everybody then understands what you want to talk about. And you might find yourself in a conversation where like, oh yeah, she's into that too. Here, I know her, she's my neighbor. I'm going to walk you over there. And now you found your human. When I do this, I strongly encourage all of you to share the white, hot truth, the scathing truth of who you are. And this is a question that might be a little bit uncomfortable to figure out because I'm going to want something to come out of your mouth that makes you a little bit nervous. You should sweat a little bit when you say this. It's what's always been true about you. It's what you're into right now. It's what will move the needle on your dream. It's probably why you're there. There's no reason to be coy about this. So I'm attending an event in May. Again, a magnet for potential future clients. This is how I introduce myself at networking events. Hi, I'm Laurie. I'm super fucking magic. And I walk high achievers through their fear so that they can live their dreams. That's what I want to talk about. And if you don't want to talk about that, now you know you don't even follow up. That's like a 14-second conversation. If you are into that, we're about to have a real human connection. I'm going to remember something about you. I'm going to be present for it. You'll probably be present for it. So I want everybody, and it's okay that we have some silence here. I want you to, if you've got pen and paper, or type it out or put it on your phone or do it in a thought exercise. What's the white hot truth of who you are? Think, if it helps, think of your next event that you're going to. Think of the best possible thing that could come out of that event. You know who's going to be there. You know what kind of event it is. What is the thing that you could walk away with that would leave you feeling inspired? If you're brave, put it in the chat because somebody in this room might be able to help you with that today. If it's hard to form it in a sentence, a distilled sentence, it might help you to just ask the question in the chat or answer this question. What would move the needle for you on your big dream? Is it a person you want to talk to? Is it a resource? Do you need an employee? Do you need a co-founder? Are you looking for a job? Is it a grant? What is it? What do you need access to that you don't have access to right now? Be brave, put it in the chat. Somebody in this room might have it. I'll put mine in. Massimo, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think just going off this exercise, I feel like I might not be the only one in this position where, you know, really looking to still break into the industry just first and foremost. And so I when I come to these networking events, I don't want it to feel too transactional, right? Because yes, in an ideal world, moving the needle forward would be connecting with someone who is hiring me, right? But
Massimo, what do you do? What are you great at? What do you want to do more of?
I come from like a sales background, CPG, wine and spirits. So it's very like low tech, but you know, looking to
what do you love about that background? What feels right?
Connecting with people, finding solutions to their problems, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. How does that help you be really good at that job?
Because I can sell a product as a solution, you know, not just a shiny object kind of thing, I guess.
And because you have an awareness about a conversation not being too transactional, I bet you're pretty easy to talk to.
Yeah.
Seems pretty easy right now. So I would like to use my magic wand. Purple heart, 8¼ inches, unyielding. This is a safe space. I want you all to ask for your dreams, make it a transaction. Can anybody in here move the needle for Massimo? He's ready to work in climate. He's got skills. If you can, DM him or put it in for everybody to see. Oh, and everybody's putting their wish in. Take a moment and look at everybody's wish.
Massimo, have you been on the Work on Climate Change Slack channel?
Not on the Slack channel. No, I do follow the job board on there, I think.
So, yeah, the Slack channel, because I'm RevGen, and I've been RevGen for new engineering, product development, highly technical. So I'm on the high end of the technical piece, but I've you know, the human connection, and you know, people do business with humans, right? And so that's the same from a sales perspective or a business development perspective. But what's really great about the Work on Climate Change Slack channel is they have mentorship opportunities, and you can actually ask me anything with leaders and folks within climate change. So you can pick that narrow band of the thing that you're excited in and talk to somebody who's been an industry leader for 25 years for 45 minutes at no cost. You just ask and they set it up. And there's a whole bunch of success stories and people putting things in there. So yeah, I mean, I found the organization is great, but the Slack channel is the nitty gritty of it, and it has been useful.
Could somebody who's really good at looking things up online find the link to join the Work on Climate Slack channel for Massimo, please? And anybody else who didn't know about it is a beautiful community and a resource.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to Slack. I think my team uses, you know, Microsoft Teams or something. So I've heard a lot about Slack and all the community that's on there. So that will probably be my call to action to actually check it out.
Well, and if you ever want to, I'm a public entity on LinkedIn or whatever. If anybody ever wants to brainstorm about stuff like that, that's, you know, you learn more by teaching or by showing. So I'm very happy to assist any way I can. I don't know exactly. I haven't fully formed the idea, which is why it hasn't happened for me yet on the complete conversion. I don't know where exactly I want to be, but that's where the exercising ideas like this type of forum is awesome.
And on that note, Eric, third segue, 3 for 3. Everyone, please put your LinkedIn in the chat. Connect with people. And I'm going to sweeten that a little bit. I'll put mine in here. Don't follow me. Connect with me. I accept all connections. If I'm a first connection with somebody who helps move the needle on your dream, ask me for an introduction. And Sophia, to your point about asking written networking that's effective, I do so many introductions that I have a form that I'm struggling to find right now. I have a form because it helps me keep track of them. And I mean this. I connect a lot of people. I've helped people get jobs. I've helped co-founders find co-founders. I've helped founders find investors. I've helped investors find founders. I'm really struggling, Natalie. Can you help me with my link?
Yeah, I'm at a drop right now. I just found it.
Thank you. And to this point of when you look at that form, it is written with the magic formula in mind. The magic formula slipping into written networking is, I'm going to read a little bit about you, so I know a little bit about you. I'm not going to be a creepy stalker, but I'm going to understand a little bit, just enough to know what we have in common. I'm going to find that thing that we have in common. I'm going to write a sentence about how I see you and I admire what you've done. The second sentence is how that thing connects to my thing. And then the third thing is a clear ask. Something that makes an ask a clear ask. Number one, it contains a question mark. If you fill out this form and there's no question marks in it, I'm not sending it. An ask has a question mark. A clear ask is something like, can we talk for 30 minutes to see if I'm a good employee for your company? It's a lot easier to say yes to that than it is, can we have a virtual coffee? Jeff, no shade about your virtual coffee. I remember, I'll never forget that. I see you.
My coffees are amazing.
I know, I'm sure they are. When you ask clearly, this is very similar to the scathing, on target, hot truth about who you are when you introduce yourself. Introduce yourself boldly in a way that moves the needle on your dream. Ask for things boldly in a way that moves the needle on your dream. And Massimo, I got to come back to this. Oh, but Laurie, it feels really transactional. I'm aware of that. We got to talk about feeling transactional. Raise your hand if feeling too transactional has ever slowed you down in networking. Yeah, that's a big one. How does this come for you? How does this show up? What does it prevent you from doing? That's the real question. Anybody want to be brave and answer that live?
For me, it's asking more questions, like moving forward with the conversation.
So Shilpa, you've been clear about your ask, but then continuing the conversation? Is that, I want to clarify, that's what you said.
Yes. So like
So what feels transactional about that? Or is that the not transactional version?
that's what feels like when it feels transactional, I feel like I can't keep continuing asking the questions that I want. And then I kind of like check out.
Thank
And
you
I'm
for
trying to
being
figure
brave.
out a way to get out of that conversation.
Yeah, thank you for being brave and coming off of mic. So when you feel yourself checking out or trying to get the heck out of there, at a very high level, something about that situation feels wrong. Our bodies remember every bad thing that's ever happened to us. And something about that situation doesn't feel right. And so your body's like, get out of here. Right? But what happens if you get out of there? So maybe you've gotten brave and you've asked your ask, but then you don't stay to hang out to see if it's a possibility. Or you don't stay and calmly have a human connection to further strengthen that networking opportunity.
One of the questions I like to ask is, what were you hoping to get from coming here today? And maybe there's somebody I know, maybe there's, and just by taking the focus off of you and like creating the safe space for them to have that transactional component and make an ask, especially when you're taking it away from a charged thing. It's like, what were you hoping to get from this? Oh, well, I just talked to this person. Or, that's interesting. Have you tried this group? And all of a sudden you're creating value and you're giving it away. And that then I don't, then the conversation will sometimes get back to what I need or not. But that person, I've had people call me back, 2-3 months later and say, that one thing didn't work all that well, but I did this other thing. So now all of a sudden they're giving me feedback on it. Now we have a relationship, right? Like that's beautiful.
So Shilpa, does that land? Does that feel accessible?
Yeah, that does actually make sense.
So one of the things, Eric, that I want to highlight as a strategy is when you take the pressure off of yourself. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Many people enjoy talking about themselves. Not everyone, but I would say more than half. And Shilpa, if you start to feel that I got to get out of here, one of the ways that you can help buy some time before you feel like you really have to leave, do what we did at the beginning. Find a part of your body that's really easy to put your attention on. My feet still, feeling good. Put your attention there. Slow your breath down just a little bit. Here's a phrase I say inside of my head all the time when my fear comes for me. We thrive here. And when I say we, I'm talking about my survival instinct and my intrepid human brain are the two entities. Your body tells you to fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn when your intrepid human brain has gotten way outside of your belief system. Oh, I see you all, you smart, ambitious people who you're just going to override that. You're going to be like, I'm going to stay. I'm sweating, but I'm staying. If you can just acknowledge, hey, I feel the urge to run. I'm paying attention. So Shilpa, it might be for you. I hear you. We thrive here. It's a way to resource yourself. It's a way to soothe yourself. And Eric's strategy of kicking the question back on them to give yourself a couple of breaths to calm down. So I have a whole suite of questions that I will throw out when the conversation merits it. What did you learn today? What was the best part of your day? Eric's, to your point, what did you hope to get out of this? That's a great one. What brought you here? Questions that aren't what's your name, where are you from, who do you work for, where'd you go to school? Don't do that. It's boring. I found myself years ago at a networking event that very clearly I was the only one who was going to start conversations. And I just was curious about this. And I happened to be at a turtle race where you put turtles under a kiddie pool and then you lift the pool and there's an outer circle and the first turtle to cross the circle wins. Adrenaline pinching. It was so fun. And so as the conversation stalled out time and again, the awkward pause would be happening and I would say, I got to go see a turtle race today. If somebody's into that, they'll ask about it. You could just bring up something fun from your life. I'm really into basketball. Caitlin Clark, huh? How about them Bears? Get the conversation moving. If you find that you're afraid, if you've moved over here, I'm not saying you're a fearful person, Shilpa. That's not what I'm saying at all. If you felt yourself move over here for any reason, here's the basic recipe again. Everybody pay attention, close your email. Step 1, notice it. Good job. That's half the battle. Step 2, soothe yourself. Slow your breath down a little. Feel a part of your body. Say to yourself, we thrive here. Step 3, pick something that's over in creation. Now, how do you do that? Emotions that are over in the creation side of your life. Fun, happy, peace, joy, love, all the good stuff. Just pick one. Do that thing where you remembered where you belong. Do that. Just dip back into a really easy memory where you belonged and then bring that into your heart. Come back to the present moment, because one of the challenges for extroverts in that room, we stop listening. By the way, this is what makes it hard for a lot of the introverts to talk to us, because we stop listening. And what's at stake when you're not listening? That golden opportunity might be right in front of you and you can't hear it. Okay. High level. We talked about the room. I put that link in about the magic formula. Use the magic formula when you're doing written. You can also do it in person. If you're present and actively listening, you can say back to that person something that's actually exciting about what they said to you and build the conversation off of that. Oh, I watched turtle racing once. Wasn't it fun? Or, oh, you lived in Central America too? No way. Which country? When? Whatever it was. To bring it back to the present moment, to bring it back to something that's enjoyable to talk about. It's also okay to just hold silence. I know this one can be a little bit weird. Try holding silence in the big room with all the people. See if you can be curious about what happens when you do. For a lot of people, when I tell them to go into the room and to put this thing down, to just be, that's the hardest part about networking. See if you can do it just for 2 minutes. Don't touch your phone. Don't walk up to somebody you know. Don't walk up to anybody. If you can be silent, just feeling a good feeling, the event has already been worth it. That's my opinion. Okay, I'm really sick of hearing my own voice here. I want to field questions. What questions do you all have? What's hard about this? What doesn't make sense? What do you need help with? What do you wish was easier? What kind of results do you want that you haven't been getting? Or do you want 13 minutes of your day back?
don't want to
I'm-
eat up too
oh.
much of the verbal real estate, but I just moved to the Pacific Northwest from California, and I just empty nested. So I'm going through all of these transitions, and I just playing the resume game and networking. It's like I'm looking for somebody who can help open a door to either like I'm used to being at the high level, but I just want to sell the hell out of stuff and make a bunch of commission right now, right? Like that's so from a software sales position, chewing gum thing, I could do it for a year or two, and then I can point to that success and then move into a training position or move up the line and not have to worry about being the VP and the strategy and all that other kind of crap. So I'm overqualified for what I'm hunting for. The AI generators and the resumes, it's war, counter war, warfare, and it's not people. So I'm trying to get into and meet people accordingly and find new networking meetings in an area I've never ever been at before. And I'm pivoting careers, so I'm open to a lot of different things. So where my challenge is I kind of get to the point a little too fast. I mean, I don't make a lot of small talk necessarily, but I'm not salesy. I'm just like, who are you as a human? Let's get to know each other as a human, and then I just don't have a lot of energy or enthusiasm for the deep follow up for so many empty leads. So I'm spending more of my time on the front end qualifying and filtering, and hoping to get deeper with fewer people.
Eric, are you posting on social anywhere?
I'm not posting on LinkedIn right now because I'm working for somebody, and it's less than optimal. So the tool that I usually use, which is the LinkedIn piece, I'm now kind of have to navigate away from that. So I'm looking for other platforms and formats to do that, and they seem to be consolidated quite a bit. So I'm trying to find local things because I'm happy to be hybrid now and that kind of stuff. So, yes, please.
I was just going to say, I am switching industries too, and I just left my job. But I was starting to post stuff on LinkedIn, like I'd find not related to my job at all, but related to where I want to go. And so I don't know if where you're working, they would have angst on that, or actually it's your platform. So I don't know, but they shouldn't have a say, but
yeah.
Can I take that up a notch, Amy? Can I?
Yeah.
Eric,
Mhm.
block everybody you work with.
Okay.
So they can't see you. And set yourself free.
Okay, that's a smart idea. There we go.
Apologies if you can all hear Lupin. He just arrived.
It's okay. My dogs are going to bark off him.
I was going to say all of your dogs are going to hear Lupin. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, because see, one of my superpowers with LinkedIn is I look down at the recommendations at the bottom, and there's the given and the give and received, and I actually will use that to get an emotional temperature of the person I'm going to call, because what they are saying about other people tells you what's important to them and other people, and then what other people say about them is how they express themselves in the business
Eric,
world.
you just walked yourself
that
full
language.
circle. Can you see about how not posting is holding you back?
Yes.
Okay, so
And
where I want to,
but I never thought about blocking them.
I want to be really diligent about this. For everybody who's not posting on LinkedIn, you're missing an opportunity. That magnet thing that I talked to you about in the room with feeling belonging, that works in written asynchronous too. So what did I talk about? Talk about only what you want to talk about. Introduce yourself in a way that moves the needle on your dream, and feel the way you want to feel. If you can write posts like that, do it. And I've had long conversations. So here's all of your self-limiting beliefs about posting on LinkedIn. I'm just going to say them rapid fire because I kind of ain't got time for this. Doesn't matter if nobody reads them. Don't let go of the statistics. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you write it in a pointed way, the algorithm will put it in front of people who want to see it. There might only be 4 of them. It's fine. Let it go. This isn't your high school basketball statistics. Everybody's nervous about being cringe in their writing. You know what? Cringe is where it's at. You know what cringe is? Cringe is that friction point between who you are and who people made fun of you for being. You're not in middle school anymore. You're older and wiser and you have better resources now. Lean into cringe. Write cringe. I triple dog dare you. When you do it, tag me. I'll blow it up. And then Eric, you brought one up. Oh, but I have a job and I don't want to cause angst. Block everybody who might feel angsty about it. Super easy to block people on social media. Natalie, I think that's our t-shirt slogan. Cringe is where it's at. Lean
A friend of
into
mine
cringe.
has one that's it's called Embrace the Awkward is his tagline.
Embrace the awkward. It's the same thing. Awkward is just that friction between who you know you are and who people made fun of you for being.
I like that. Thank you.
So here's what I do in my job every day. I work with exceptional, world-changing, high-achieving, ambitious humans who are here to change the world. All they want is bigger impact, faster. The recipe to get there is to figure out who you are and lean into the fact that who you are is good. Thank you, Nicole, for the artwork. Who you are is good. When you believe that deep down, you open doors that you closed decades ago and you have access to new behaviors. And when you lean into cringe and post it on LinkedIn, your people will find you. When you talk about it when you're in that room with other people, they will find you. And if you go to that room and you only have 2 good conversations and they're good ones, good job. Rant spittle. Thank you for that. Sophia, if you had a question and you're being patient, what is it?
Yeah, I was just smiling that Nicole was writing that posting is scary. I'm actually a fan of Nicole. I love her posts. So,
We
you're
love
doing it.
Nicole.
Thank you. It was so great to see you both.
Nicole, what was hard about the first post? Because you figured it out. You've got the formula that works. Everybody sees it.
I just I started 2.5 years ago. I had no followers on Twitter and it was just scary posting to the void. And I committed to doing a piece of art a day for 100 days. So I just desensitized myself by the end of it. So yeah.
I love that strategy.
Yeah, my point is doing the same with that's my scary space because for me the DMs always feel transactional. So in a networking discussion I can ask the other person what do you like about this event. They will like talking about that, but doing the same in a direct message is so difficult, at least for me.
Sophia, thank you for being brave and bringing that up. Does anybody else resonate with that? Yeah. You're not going to like my response at all.
It will not be better ever. That's how
Here's the reality. Here's the reality. If any of you have been multitasking and you're doing something else, wake up. This is all you need to hear. Just this one thing. I'll let you go back to whatever you're doing. I make my feelings. Sophia, you make yours. Eric makes his. Massimo makes his. Nicole makes hers. Natalie makes hers. Can I keep going? I'm not saying this as a battle cry to self-flagellate. I want to be really clear. I know that you feel transactional when you're writing. You don't have to keep living like this. You don't have to keep living like this. I want you to practice. First of all, how do you want to feel when you're writing the DMs?
Providing value so that the other person feels that I'm writing because it makes sense. I didn't write it because I want to spam, but it's because it's meaningful.
Can I just throw out that you just want to maybe feel good when you're writing the DMs and know that you have value? So maybe the thought is I'm writing something valuable and you want to feel good about that. Okay. Here's where I go on and on about meditation. I know some of you have this already. I made a 5 and a 10-minute meditation. Everybody can meditate for 5 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. Get over it. This is an active mental rehearsal. This is not a be nothing for 5 minutes. Sophia, I want you to pick a future timeline, 2 weeks from now, maybe, where you're writing, your thought is, I'm writing something valuable and I feel good about it. Take those two things into this meditation, and I want you to practice your future so that the next time you write a DM, you remember. This is how we start to move those felt senses. Everybody who feels cringy in DMs, it's a felt sense that you're burdening them with your transactionality. It's okay. You're human. We all have these things. Any tips on practicing the standing still and being quiet and content? Yeah, you just have to desensitize your 2S. I think Nicole's comment about posting artwork for 100 days in a row is a great way to desensitize. Try it in a low stakes situation. Try it with somebody you live with or somebody you know really well. Tell them what you're doing. Talk to them about how weird it is. Maybe have a laugh about it. Get them to do it with you. It doesn't even cross my mind to hold a long pause anymore. I've desensitized myself to it, and I have found the reward in it. And I want to remind you, when you go and you do nothing, if you go and you put a beautiful emotion in your heart, it's a huge reward. If nothing else, you're taking a break from the melee of the networking event. Amy, did you have a question you wanted to ask? We're almost out of time.
Sorry, that's why I took my hand down. I'm struggling a little bit with finding the networking events, right? So I have always been in tech. You know, people are like, stay in tech because that's where your connections are. That is where my connections are, but I don't want to stay there, right? And so it's navigating into the opportunities of networking. And so a few months ago, I started posting something once a week on, you know, climate sustainability type of things, you know, and most of my responders are people from tech because that's, you know, whatever, but it's, I'm just trying to navigate through for the networking events.
So Amy, 4 years ago, I moved from architecture and construction to climate and climate as the economy, all of the sectors of climate.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many sectors of climate are there. Somebody probably knows this off the top. A lot. 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, a million. And I just decided I'm just going to build network.
Okay.
And everything I've talked about here. So posting on LinkedIn, good job. Writing about the area that you want to be in, doing some, and if you like reading and research and stuff, write about what you've read or write about what you've learned or whatever you have. And then I'm sure somebody in here has a really good resource about where to find the networking events for specific sectors in climate. But one of the things that might help you, Amy, climate's an economy. Pick a sector you love.
Right.
Does energy get you? Does water get you? Is it food systems? Is it waste? Is it circularity? Is it finance? What is it?
Regenerative agriculture.
There you go. Look for regenerative agriculture events and you'll find things that are more targeted to what you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. They had one and I went, but I want to keep going. You know.
Good. And then so think about the people that you met there.
Yeah.
Ask them what the other things they go to are, or email the organizers of the event and say, what else do you hold? Or who else holds events like you can reach out and ask questions to anybody.
Okay.
What area are you in, Amy?
Marketing.
No, but like global, geographically.
Chicago.
Okay. Yeah. I worked in ag tech for a while. And I went to the Ag World Expo, which was in California.
Okay.
And it was nearly free. You can go, I think it's $20 for a day, and they take up this whole entire Tulare grounds. And I think there's like 2,000 different vendors and different people doing all kinds of weird things. But that was a whole education in of itself. And the other thing I do to sometimes find networking is I'll find somebody speaking or a webinar, and I'll reach out to the people who were speaking on the panel discussion and asking them where I can find more information directly. And they're very happy to take anybody who's on a panel discussion loves it if you call them and talk to them about their expertise.
Awesome.
So I leverage, even if I didn't go to the event, if I see them and they seem interesting, I'll write them and be like, the panel looked very interesting. Where can I find more information on blank? And sometimes they'll even point me to a coworker or a peer. So it's, don't ask, don't get, right? That's kind of the key. And the more specific you're asked, the higher the probability.
And one thing for both of you having you're changing areas, anybody else who's changing areas, I triple dog dare you to go in with the belief that you belong there. Human nature wants you to think you don't. It's okay, you're just being human. There's nothing wrong with you. If you can say to our evolution, to your culture, to your belief system, no, it's cool, I belong here. It's the same thing as we thrive here. When you go in feeling that sense of belonging, you're relaxed. You're bringing in all of the expertise that you already have. You're bringing that expertise to this area that you're passionate about. That is a match made in heaven. And we're way over time. Thank you, Natalie. I just want to say this is the end of the mini series. Thank you, all of you. Natalie, thank you. This has been so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll put recordings up and links and such.
Yep, we have a playlist that's currently live. I'll drop a link to it again. But yeah, I'll add this recording and then send the email out later today. It's been fun. I can't believe it's already been 4 months. Time flies.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Really, really, really appreciate you and all your insights. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll have to do
Happy
something else like this.
networking.
Yeah, happy networking.